Welcome to Drifts and Tales, where history tells a story. Brought to you by the World Museum of Mining in Butte, Montana. I'm Jeanette Koff.
And I'm Dan Rapcook. Together, we're exploring the story of a city that helped power the modern world, a place where ambition met tragedy beneath the surface of the richest hill on earth.
Before there was copper, there was gold. The first miners who came to this part of Montana in the 1860s were chasing the same dream that drew thousands west, the glint of gold dust in cold mountain streams.
When the placer gold dwindled, they turned to silver. And when the silver ran thin, something remarkable happened. They found copper, a metal that would prove far more valuable than any gold rush. Because just as Butte's veins of copper were discovered, the world was changing. The telephone and electric light were transforming daily life, and Butte became the beating heart of that revolution.
By the 1880s, the mines beneath Butte began to run deep and would eventually carve more than 10,000 miles of workings. The air was hot, damp, and heavy. Men worked 12-hour shifts with pick, shovel, and dynamite, earning barely enough to feed their families.
Above ground, 3 men, Marcus Daly, William A. Clark, and F. Augustus Heinze, built empires on the miners' backs. They were known as the Copper Kings, and their rivalries reshaped Montana.
The Copper Kings formed companies that drove industrial expansion, bought newspapers and senators alike, and fought with the cunning of a street fighter. Their struggle wasn't just for wealth, it was for control of a metal the modern world couldn't live without.
We spoke with historian Kate McCourt, Butte Silver Bow's Historic Preservation Officer, about the legacy of that conflict.
So the Copper Kings obviously, gave Butte its grandeur as well as its scars. They built not only some of the beautiful architecture that remains, like the Copper King Mansion, and the Clark Chateau, and numerous other buildings. They built libraries, opera houses, and created this whole political machine that Montana is kind of fashioned upon today. They left us this legacy of labor strife that really wound up shaping America as a whole.
Underground, the men called it the Hill. You didn't work on the hill, you worked in it. The drifts twisted for miles, and one mistake could cost a life.
Immigrants came from Ireland, Finland, Cornwall, Italy, and all of Eastern Europe. Each brought their own songs, their saints, and their hopes. They built neighborhoods around their parishes, St. Lawrence, St. Joseph's, Sacred Heart, where the bells called miners home from the drifts.
Then came June 8th, 1917, a night that burned itself into Butte's memories. In the Granite Mountain and Speculator mines, a simple mistake, a carbide lamp, and a damaged electrical cable ignited a fire that spread like a fuse.
The smoke filled the tunnels faster than the men could run. Some tried to seal themselves in bulkheads, hoping for rescue. Others scribbled final messages on timbers. It's 2:30 a.m., and all hope is gone. 168 men never made it out.
The tragedy tore through the city. Families waited at the mine's mouth for days, hoping against hope. But from that pain came strength, a unity that formed Butte's labor movement.
The miners organized not just for better wages, but for dignity. The Speculator disaster marked the birth of a new chapter in America's fight for workers' rights. But those rights were not granted easily. Butte miners paid for every gain in blood and endurance. The wrestling card system forced men to prove loyalty to company and union alike, a constant test of allegiance in town divided. Labor on labor unrest tore through camps, and at times, soldiers occupied the streets of Butte to keep order.
In August of 1917, violence reached its darkest hour with the lynching of Frank Little, an organizer with the industrial workers of the world. He was dragged from his boarding house, beaten, and hanged from a railroad trestle with a message pinned to his shirt warning other labor organizers around the country. No one was ever charged. His death sent a chill through every worker who dared speak out.
Just 3 years later, gunfire erupted at the Anaconda Company gates. Agents of the company opened fire on striking workers, killing one and wounding many others. The struggle for dignity in the mines was a fight for survival against the rock, against the system, and sometimes against each other.
Here at the World Museum of Mining, we tell stories of the past, not to glorify it, but to honor it. Walking through the grounds offers visitors the opportunity to see the memorial wall, where 2,400 miners gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Each one represents someone who gave everything for family, for company, and for country during an era when America was growing into an industrial powerhouse. The wall stand is both memorial and mirror, reminding us that progress always carries a price. And though those names are carved in stone, countless others, lost to silicosis and other diseases born of dust and toil, remain unrecorded. Their sacrifices no less real, their stories carried forward by the museum's mission. The mission of the World Museum of Mining is to preserve the rich historical legacy of mining and the related culture of Butte, Montana and the surrounding region, and to promote the significant mining heritage by educating the public with a perspective toward family interest.
Decades later, that same battle would echo again, when Butte faced the decline of the Anaconda Company and the corporate exodus of ARCO in the 1970s and 80s.
We spoke with Jim Keene, state legislator and miner, about that turning point.
Well, it's like when the Standard Oil came here. That was the Standard Oil came and cut the wages. The trust was broke then. And so the early day trust was gone. And then you had the period of time where you, depending upon the circumstances in there and how good the contract was, some were good, some were better than others. But you never did develop that early day trust back. And then when the Atlantic Richfield came, that just yeah, there is no forgiveness now. And I think it's someone who was there when ARCO first bought it, everybody was elated. This is going to be great. They're going to invest in it. Jesus, nothing was farther from the truth.
And in the aftermath of devastating decisions by the company, Keene explained there were actions that dealt a heavy blow against the community. But it was time for the people of Butte to say enough was enough.
It is one of my favorite stories, always the John T. Shea. I was there when in fact, I worked at the Leonard. I worked in the Leonard, and I worked in the East Calusa, which is right next to the Leonard. You'd change in the Leonard, but I was working at the Persip plant, and our offices were in the Leonard because they blew the head frame down to the Leonard because they had built the. That's the other thing. They had built the underground hoist house in the Leonard mine on the 2300 level. There's a complete hoist house down there where what they were going to do is keep running because the Leonard had great covellite ore. And so they once they completed that hoist house on the 2300 level, I might be off on the exact location, but they were going to hoist and they'd take it out to Kelly. Well, once they did that, they blew that head frame down. And it was supposed to go one way, and it flopped over the edge of the pit. And they were planning to take every head frame down. Don't think they weren't. And they had the meeting, and John T. Shea stood up and said, he says, you took the first head frame down, and you're going to be hanging from the next one, because what price is our heritage?
Years later, McCourt says the spirit of resilience in Butte has made a difference.
And Butte is becoming a really kind of almost fashionable place, I think, in even from when I first came to Montana, which was only in 2008. Butte has become this place that people love again.
Butte's resilience has always been tied to its people, miners, laborers, and their families, who carried on despite disaster, corruption, and hardship.
And here at the World Museum of Mining, those stories live on. Every artifact, every voice recording, every photograph connects us to those who built this city from stone, smoke, and faith.
From the depths of the Granite Mountain Mine to the halls of union halls and family homes, their legacy endures.
From the drifts and the dark came a light that powered the world.
And that light still burns in Butte today. Every artifact, every story, every name etched in granite reminds us that Butte's history isn't buried. It's alive here in the voices we preserve and the lives we honor.
The World Museum of Mining stands as a living memorial to those who shaped not only this city, but an entire nation's industrial spirit.
And as you walk through Hellroaring Gulch or stand before the memorial wall, you'll hear their whispers carried by the wind.
We were here, and what we did mattered.
Join us next time on Drifts and Tales as we step deeper into the stories of Butte's people, miners, families, and dreamers, who built a community carved from stone and smoke and made it shine.
My sweetheart's a mule in the mine. I drive her with only one line. On the backboard I sit, tobacco I spit all over my sweetheart's behind. My sweetheart's a mule in the mine. I drive her with only one line. On the backboard I sit, tobacco I spit all over my sweetheart's behind.